record this. And then I just want to make sure that you guys can see my screen. It says Fanny Pack Wealth. Can you give me a thumbs up if you're here on video? Thank you, Christina. I see you. I'm so excited that you are here. Welcome to Fanny Pack Wealth. You know me, I like to start on time. Can everyone see me and hear me okay? Yeah? Yay. Thank you so much. It is very, very helpful for me when I can see your face and I can see everybody. I will try to follow the chat. In fact, let me see if I can even get the chat up right now. I can pop that over here so that I can see you guys. Great. Oh my God, you guys are amazing. Thank you for being in the chat and letting me know. Welcome to Fanny Pack Wealth. I'm thrilled that you are here. Um, I have been wanting to teach this and call it Fanny Pack Wealth for quite a while. As some of you know, I have been sick since November, and I feel like I was like, I want to get on a Zoom and teach. I want to get on a Zoom and teach, but I was not well enough to be able to do that. And I am finally back to feeling like myself, thank goodness. And so here we are, excited to be back with you teaching live. I'm hoping to do these once a week, and really just bring information to you guys that you guys keep asking me for. Does that sound good to everybody? Yeah? Okay. My energy is through the roof because I'm just so excited to walk you through how to turn your lived experience into cash flow tonight. So let's dive in, shall we? And I just want to make sure, again, you can see my screen that says how to turn your lived experience into cash flow. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. This is what we're going to do. How to turn your lived experience into cash flow. Even if you've tried everything, even if you have no following, if you have no idea what to sell yet, you will by the end of tonight. You're going to know exactly what your digital product or offer or service could be, why your story is the only qualification that you need. And the one thing that you have to do, and I almost never say have to do something, but this is the one thing you have to do before you build anything so that you stop spinning your wheels and start selling. Who wants to stop spinning wheels? I'm like, Andrew's like, yes, please. Okay, let's go. Okay. Many of you know me. Many of you have seen this picture, but if you are coming here tonight, maybe on the back of someone else who kind of like brought you alongside, or this is your first time inside of a Zoom or a live with me, this is me. April 2023. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, which is right over here, and I was ugly crying. Not like cute, single little tear, right? Like full on mascara coming down my face. Snot was involved, like the whole thing. And I took this picture right here. And I took it in this moment because something in my gut said, this moment will mean something. I don't know what that is right now, but it is going to mean something. And I shared it to my stories, and it was really just for me to document that. We were behind on bills. We had just pulled our girls out of gymnastics because we couldn't afford to pay for it anymore. My husband was working a second job. He was working, I'm not even kidding you, 100 hours a week. Now, everyone always goes, Gwen, that's impossible. He's a firefighter. So, two shifts for him are a 24 and a 24. So, that's 48 hours. He was working four of those in a week and then a carpenter on the side. So, 100 hours a week. We would never see each other. And that night, I was just sitting on the bed and I turned to him and I said, I think I'm done. I think I'm done trying. Like, I've done all the things. I don't understand what else I could possibly do. And we were this close, I kid you not, to starting a dumpster rental business. I had a whole Google Drive. We had done the research, we had all the things ready. But what I didn't know in this moment, this picture right here, and what I couldn't see yet, is that I wasn't missing like some sort of step or how to or a better strategy or a bigger following. It wasn't any of those things. I was just missing this realization that the thing that I was searching for I was already living it. Because in that moment, I was the woman who was deep in debt. I was determined to get out. I was a mom who had to pull her kids from something that they loved and was fighting like hell to change that. I was a wife whose husband was exhausted from working two jobs, and I wasn't going to stop until he could come home and just be dad. right? Firefighting, which he loved, and just be dad. That was the story. That was the product. And that was the business. I had no idea yet. No idea, right? My life, messy, in progress, zero followers, zero proof, struggle for years was actually enough. So, what I stopped doing after that was I stopped looking for some magical result that I thought I needed before I could start. And I just started sharing the journey that I was on, like the debt payoff, even if it was $2 extra on my credit card, the late nights, the failures, the lessons. And all I did was I invited people to come on that journey with me. I said, hey, I don't have it all figured out, but I'm going. And if you want to come, here you go. And they said yes. So give me a yes in the chat if you've ever felt like you needed to achieve something first before you were allowed to start sharing your story. Has anyone ever felt like I need to have a qualification, a certification, some sort of massive story, big triumph, right? Yeah, I see you in there. I get it. Because that's the missing piece that I see almost every single human I work with. Sitting on a gold mine of lived experience, real struggles, real lessons, and she or he is convinced that none of it counts yet. Laura says, yes, until I started following you. Amen. Right? Convinced that we have to be further along, more followers, more time, more experience. And so, what I want to show you today is that that is the biggest lie that the online world has ever told you and ever sold you, right? That your story, exactly as it is right now, is the only thing you need to create income online. Wouldn't that be nice? Because don't we all have access to that, right? Oh, and you kind of need to have one other thing. You need to have a desire, a determination, right? A desire to change your life. You do not need a perfect niche. You don't need the most profitable niche. You don't need a massive following. I started at zero. You don't need credentials, a degree, a perfect aesthetic Instagram grid. None of those things matter. Okay. So, this is what the Fanny Pack Framework is all about. And that's what we're going to dig into today. So, I always have a drink. I know this looks disgusting. Maybe you can't even see it. It's blurred out. It's lemon water. So, there is stuff floating around in there, but I promise it's not my backwash. It's just lemon water. Okay. So, grab your drink. I don't care what it is. Because by the time that we're done today, you're never going to look at your story the same way. And with your permission, and of course, I will always ask, I'll be sharing how I can help you fast track your success tonight. And I have two surprises for you. And also going to turn off my notifications because I can see them coming in, and that's squirrel. I have two surprises for you. So you're going to want to stay till the end so I can show you what those are. But for now, let's dive in to how we're going to achieve what I'm calling Fanny Pack wealth. Does that sound good? Okay. Oh, 7 years is a long time and also not a long time. But this is kind of a compilation of 7 years of trying. Okay, lots of different experiences here. I have been trying to build an online business. I hired coaches. I bought courses. I had consumed every free YouTube video, every podcast episode, every book, every PDF freebie, right? Is anyone like me too? I have an email like box full of freebies that, I did or did not open. I had tried network marketing and I had tried selling yoga gear. My sister and I literally ordered 200 sweatshirts and tank tops, and I'm not even kidding you, they're still in my attic. Okay. I tried selling houses. And I had spent about $10,000 on a coach, the first coach I ever hired. And I built a website. I did exactly what she told me to do, and I launched an offer. And can you guess how many people bought that offer? This is 2018. How many people do you think bought that offer? Anyone? Zero. Zero. A big fat goose egg. Not one person. Not even my mom, like just to buy it and then maybe on the back end, like ask me for a refund just so I can show you that someone bought it. Nope, nobody bought it. Okay. And there I was in 2023, 7 years in, sitting on my bed right here, crying and close to declaring that I was done. Now, if you're a parent, You probably know that feeling, that like gut punch where you feel like you're not just failing yourself, but you're failing your kids, which is even worse, right? Gymnastics was everything for my girls. Their friends were there, their whole world was there, and I had to look them in the eyes and I had to tell them, you can't do it anymore because we can't afford it. And I felt like the worst mom and the worst wife, and like everything I'd been working for 7 years had led me nowhere. And again, husband never home, blah, 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 right? The whole thing. Can I get a hands up or a yes in the chat if you've ever had a moment where you thought, maybe everyone else is right? Maybe I should just give up. I know Nanette is not giving up because I can see her in the chat. She says, I'm not quit. I ain't quitting, she says. Right. But we've all kind of been there where we want to quit. Right. Laura says, yes, but I'm not giving up either. Thank goodness you are here, friend. Thank goodness. Lori says, no way. Right. We've all been there. We've all been there. If you don't know me or you've never been in any of my workshops, I love gifts because I feel like they just make this so much fun. So, um, haven't you heard the riches is in the niches? Like, who's heard that before? So many times. It's so old. I had spent years trying to find the right niche, the right result to sell, the right transformation. Andrew says, no way am I quitting on my dream. Gosh, thank God you guys are here. I had done health and wellness. I had done network marketing. I had done real estate, essential oils, whatever was working for everyone else. I was like, ooh, shiny object. That's working for them. I'm going to do that. And every single time, I was just trying to squeeze myself into someone else's story, right? But what if I stopped waiting to have the result before I started sharing the journey, right? I started to think like that. I was like, you know what? F this. How can I get a result and like not share the progress that I'm making? I said, I'm just going to share it from the beginning and see what happens. So I did. And I did something kind of crazy. And I started a brand new social media account. Some of you have been here since that time in 2023. This obviously didn't start at 3478 followers. This started as 0 followers on May 23rd, 2023. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my husband. I didn't tell my sister. I didn't tell any of my friends. I didn't connect any other social media accounts because every time that I had told people what I was doing, I got the, are you sure you want to do that? Or like, I don't know. Do you really think that's going to work? Right? Like the naysayers in my life. And I just couldn't. I couldn't. So I put my blinders on like a horse, right? And I stopped looking at what everyone else was doing. And I stopped trying to figure out what was trending. And I stopped trying to pick like the most popular, profitable niche. And I just started sharing my story. So this was June 21st, 2023. May 23rd, I started with 0 followers. This was June 21st. So what, a month later, we had grown to 3,400 followers. Mind you, I had had an Instagram 7 years before that, right? Like I had had one for 7 years that I was trying to grow, never grew over 4,000 followers. And here I am, 69 posts in, 3,400 followers. I was like, what's happening? Right? Here's what I did. All I did was share where I was, what I was going through, what I was learning, what I was trying, and the goals that I was working towards. Right? Getting my husband home from a second job, getting my girls back in gymnastics. That was really all that I wanted to accomplish. But if I could also get us out of debt, if I could also find myself again and not be this crazy, stressed out mom, please. I was like, yes, I will take that, right? And it was raw and it was real and there was no filter, quite literally. So 2 weeks in, I posted a video. It was this one right here. And you can kind of see here, but I don't know when I took the screenshot, but it hit like 100,000 views. And I had never seen that in my life. It was like 2,000 views at first. And even that, I was like, oh my gosh, right? And then it just kept going. And the comments kept coming in. And here's what they sounded like. They were like, did you read my diary? Did you read my journal entry from today? Like, this is my life. How did you get in my brain? Can you teach me how to do what you're doing? Me, 2 weeks in, 0 credentials on this path, right? 0 proof of concept, 0 followers before that. And then this first commission came in. This commission was $2.80. I know what you're thinking. You're a millionaire. $2.80? Wow, like that's amazing. No, you're probably thinking like, what is that gonna, that can't even get you a parking spot in downtown, right? Maybe I can stay for an hour. But here's what that was. And this is what I need for you to feel and understand. That was just proof. So this first commission was just proof, right? It's an icebreaker, says Andrew. Yeah. It was proof that like what I was doing could work. It was proof that people wanted to go on the journey with me. It was the universe tapping me on the shoulder going, "Hey, keep going. This is the right path." Right? So if $2.80 came in from just telling my story and being like a few steps ahead of someone else, what happens at 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year? Type a 2 in the chat if you understand what I mean. That sometimes the smallest proof is all you need to know, right? Maybe for you, that's seeing someone walk before you and that's all you need, right? That's enough proof. Maybe it's the dollar amount. Maybe it's something else entirely. Yeah. Yeah. It's so powerful. So $2.80, I was rich. I wasn't rich in money, but I was rich in proof. And so I kept going and I wasn't wrong. And that account grew to 250,000 followers in a year. I made my first six figures in 4 months, you guys. 4 months. And then from there, built a multiple six-figure business in 16 months. And it wasn't by stepping into the most profitable niche. It wasn't by picking the perfect story. It wasn't by having some sort of trauma-bound story, right? And it certainly wasn't waiting until I had it all figured out. Just sharing my journey. My husband came home from his second job. My girls went back to gymnastics. We paid off $60,000 in debt and another 70,000 in so that was in 2023, 60,000 and then another 70,000 later. And every single day I get DMs from people who say, "I saw myself in your story and it made me believe that I could do this too." Now, I know what you're thinking because that phrase like if I can, so can you is BS. I don't know you. I don't know what your work ethic is, although I can tell by the people who showed up to this on a Sunday night. I can kind of tell what your work ethic looks like, right? But really, like, if I can, so can you is kind of a cop out. I didn't want to say that, but I did want to just mirror what I was doing so people could see. So here's what we discovered. That was the vehicle. Your story, okay, your journey, your story is the moneymaker. You become the niche. The journey is the actual result. So this is your fanny pack. It is attached to you, whether or not you know you have one, you do. It's right here. We pull golden wisdom nuggets out of there. Every single one of you have golden wisdom nuggets in your fanny pack. So these three things, this is the fanny pack framework. This is what we're going to go through. So how good does it feel to know that you already have this fanny pack? Maybe yours is different colors. I don't know. What's your color scheme? I like the 90s vibe. Maybe you're more of like Hulk Hogan yellow, right? Wasn't it yellow and red? I don't know. I don't care. Whatever it is, you all have one, right? My point though is that you've all been told that you need a niche. The Fanny Pack framework says you are the niche. Thank goodness. You've all been told you need proof of results before you can sell. I call BS because your journey is the result that people are paying for. You've probably also been told that you need followers and an email list and before anyone else will listen to you. I literally living proof, and I'll show you other people who've also gone through this same system later, that the Fanny Pack framework, sometimes that's very hard to say. The Fanny Pack framework says a real story is all you need to find your people. Okay? Shall we dive into what this looks like? Are you ready with your notes and your, because I have 3 secrets. We're going to break them down tonight. Are we on board? Do we feel good? Are we excited? Okay. I saw someone say, who said that? Leanne says neon anything, and that tells the era. It's okay. It's fine. I love it. I might also swing for like leopard print. Who knows? We could get wild. Okay, here are the three secrets. Here's what I'm going to walk you through today. Three things that once you understand them are going to completely reframe why you've been stuck if you've tried, or if you've never tried, it's going to give you the direction you need to go to start. And I'll show you how to unpack your fanny pack and build something real. Okay, you're going to be so surprised by what you pull out of there. So, secret number one is about the vehicle itself. This is why your story is not just enough, it's actually the most powerful thing that you could possibly sell. And why trying to build anything else first is why you've been spinning your wheels. How many of you read books or watch movies or listen to podcasts? Like, why do we do that? Because there's a character, and the books that we really love and the movies that we really love, we usually really love them because we can see ourselves, whether it's a present version of ourselves or a past version, we can see ourselves in some character in the movie, right? I know Christina's my author in here, and she's like, yep, right? We love storytelling. So we're going to lean into that. Secret number two is about the internal piece. Okay. So this is the belief that's been kind of running in the background of every strategy you've ever tried, if you've ever tried anything, and kind of quietly sabotaging all of it. And it's not, don't worry, it is not just mindset. Okay. We're not going to get like woo woo and go meditate. I love meditation, but I'm telling you, it is not just mindset. Okay. And we're not just going to think positive and expect things to happen. It is something very specific and it is fixable. Secret number three is the external piece. So, this is the one thing your audience actually needs to see from you before they'll trust you enough to buy. And it's not what you think. So, let's start with secret numero uno. Hello. Number one. Okay, secret number one. You don't need a niche. You don't need credentials. You don't need a huge following. Amen. All I can think of, so again, I love gifts and I also think in songs. So like all I can think of was this TLC song, if you remember. It was like, no, I don't want no scrubs or scrub. No, I don't want no scrub. But this time we're going to sing like, no, I don't want no niche. I think I need to remember how that goes. We'll come back to it. Okay, so secret number one. All you need, all you really need to hear is this one secret, because this is the belief that has kept more people stuck than any other strategy. Again, we don't need a topic that is the most popular. We don't need thousands of followers. We don't need to have already succeeded or have like any kind of credentials behind our name for us to take people on a journey with us, for us to make sales. Okay. Because when people tell you this, that's the biggest lie that the online space has ever sold you. And I bought that for a long time, for 7 years specifically. So I'm not judging if you have, right? Have you seen the trend? Like we listen and we don't judge. Here, we listen and we don't judge. I'm not judging you. I'm just here to give you your 7 years back. Or if you haven't even gone on that journey, I'm here to save you from going on it because that's a long time. And I don't even know how I stuck with it. Leanne says, I feel like I'm about 7 years too. Listen, it's okay because there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So no, I don't want no niche. Okay, and then if we kept singing, it was like, a niche is a guy who can't get no love from me. So we don't want no niche. No offense. But here's what I want you to understand about the online space right now. We're drowning in gurus. Drowning. You know the type, right? The perfectly curated office. I don't have that. The matcha lattes and the Pilates on Wednesdays. And it's fine if you want that. But we see a lot of that as this is like, hey, I've made 7 figures in my sleep kind of energy. And it makes you kind of simultaneously inspired, but also want to throw your laptop or your phone across the room, right? And here's the thing about gurus, they're almost too far away. So when you look at someone who's that far ahead of where you are right now, Your brain doesn't go, "Oh, I could do that." Your brain goes, "Good for them, but that won't work for me because they're too far ahead." But you know what does work and is the greatest news in the entire world for you? Real people in the messy middle telling the truth. Bonus. That's you, right? And I've got great news. Every single one of us, me included, we're in the messy middle of something. Nobody has everything all figured out. Even the gurus, even the woman with 200,000 followers, she's in the messy middle. The coach charging $10,000 a month, messy middle. Me, still in the messy middle. Just a different messy middle than I was at 2 years ago. Nobody has it all figured out. And the ones who pretend they do, they're the ones that no one actually connects to, right? So what people are starving for online right now is someone who makes them feel like they're not alone. Someone who makes them stop the scroll and go, "Oh my gosh, did she just read my journal? How is she in my head?" Right? This is exactly what I'm going through. I don't want to call it a Me Too movement because I know that has a different connotation, but like oh my gosh, that's me. That's worth more than any niche, any credential, any follower count. And that is what builds trust. And trust builds businesses. Now, I don't want you to be afraid of the word business because I think some people get turned off by that word. Some people are like, "When I just want to make money selling something online." Perfect, great. By the way, that's a business. But it's okay. We don't have to call it a business if that freaks you out. But when you make money, you now have a business. Okay, but most people don't come into this wanting to build a business. So I try not to say that word, but it's a business. Okay. Type me in the chat if you've ever come across someone online who has made you feel like they were reading your diary. Has anyone ever experienced that before? Yeah? I love when that happens. I'm like, "We're now best friends." Follow, send you a message. I'm saying hi to you. We are now best friends. I feel like you're living my life, right? Perfect. Okay, good. So now that we've established that your messy middle is not a liability, it's actually your greatest asset, let me walk you through the first 3 steps of the Fanny Pack Framework because this is where it gets really fun. Are we ready? Are we good? Okay. Step 1. All we got to do is find your story. This is not the story that you wish you had. This is not the story that you think sounds impressive. Okay, because I've done that. And it's not the story where everything worked out perfectly on the first try. This is like right where you are as it is. So, for a moment, I want you to think about something that you are currently figuring out or in the middle of, or maybe have recently figured out. And maybe it felt hard, or it took some time, or it was confusing at first. I'll give you a couple of examples. I didn't know how to invest in the stock market up until 2020, but I had always kind of wanted to, but I didn't know how. So I started to read books and I started to learn how to do that. And turns out it wasn't as confusing as I had made it up to be in my head, right? So that's something that I had figured out. Was I a millionaire because of it? No. But I was a woman who didn't know how. I didn't like that I didn't know how. I took the steps to figure it out, and now I know how. Do you see? Can you think of something off the top of your head? Does anyone have any topics that's like, "Yep, this is the thing that I'm figuring out, recently figured out"? I know a couple of the people in here. So it could be like, Laura, tell us what it is in the chat. It could be like, um, I didn't know how to write my first book, but then I took some classes on how to write my first book. And wouldn't you know, I self-published my first book. And now you have knowledge that somebody else doesn't have, that someone else could want to have. Who else is in here that I know for sure? It could be that you lived in a different country and you came to the United States and you didn't know how to enter the workforce and you figured it out, right? Laura says, I recently learned about attachment styles in dating and how much it impacts us in relationships. That, that. Now, Laura doesn't have to be in a perfect relationship for her to be able to be like, hey, this is what I learned. No, she's still figuring out, probably. I'm just assuming, Laura. Like she's still figuring it out, right? But she has skills other people don't have. Robin says, learning how to roll over an IRA from a previous job. That is in my head such a complicated thing. So if someone broke that down for me, I'd be like, thank you, right? And I would pay for that information. Yeah, those are great examples. Okay, so we see what that means, right? Other examples, maybe you're learning how to build a business while working your 9 to 5. Maybe you learn how to pay off debt on a single income. Maybe it's how to show up online without feeling like a complete fraud. It doesn't have to be dramatic though, right? And it doesn't have to be rock bottom. I think that was the thing that I misunderstood in the very beginning, thinking that it had to be some sort of rock bottom story. Granted, a lot of my story felt like the rock bottom, but I'm sure it could always be worse. Holly says, I was totally afraid of technology. It can still be a challenge, but I know I can do it. Yeah, so you've learned some skills to walk through that process, right? So it just has to be real and it has to be something you've lived. Okay, because here's the thing, your story isn't just your story, it's actually a map. I think of it like the Waze app. I don't know if you use that when you drive, right? But the Waze app will tell you, hey, there's a police officer over here. Hey, there's a shortcut over here. Hey, there's traffic. Hey, there's a pothole. So that's what you are. You're the Waze app now. You're a map. Someone, somewhere out there is standing exactly where you were standing maybe 6 months ago, maybe a year ago, right? 3 years ago. And she or he is desperately looking for someone to walk her through the steps. You are that someone. Thank goodness. That's easy, right? We all have that. Okay, check. Now, step 2. Once you know your story, I want you to think about who is it that is one step behind you? Just one step, right? Who is the woman or the man who is right where you were before you started figuring this out? And here's the question that I want you to sit with. What is their biggest problem right now? If they could, I wish I had a magic wand. If they could wave a magic wand, what would they bippity boppity boo? What would they be like? If I could just wave my magic wand and have this happen, right? That's usually what they're stating is like, if I could just solve this problem, then everything would be good. Because what I can promise you is that the biggest problem is probably the same problem that you had before you started solving it. So if you can't think of a specific person, think of yourself. So here's my example. In 2023, I was obviously not some polished expert with like a 20-step framework and a best-selling book. I was a woman who had just pulled her girls out of gymnastics because we couldn't afford it anymore. I was a woman who'd tried for 7 years, multiple different businesses. I wondered if I was fundamentally broken. I was literally sitting in my bed, Googling dumpster rental businesses because I felt like, oh, maybe that's like, maybe I need to start a real business, quote unquote, right? Don't let anyone tell you that an online business is not real. And when I started sharing that, literally just that story, that's where the comments came from. And it wasn't, oh my gosh, Gwen, you're so inspiring. No, it's like, yeah, how do you know exactly what I'm going through? Right? Because my person had been where I had just been, even if it was yesterday. And your person is right where you just were. Make sense? So that's step 2. Know your person, know their problem. The problem's going to become your product. Simple, right? Which brings us to step 3. And this one is the one that changes everything. It is not find your person, because that was step 2. Hello, Gwen. This is supposed to say, make sure your people actually want what it is before you build it. Step 3, cancel this. Make sure people actually want it before you build it. Okay, this is called market research. And I know it's a revolutionary concept, right? But you would be amazed at how many people skip this step, myself included. That coaching program that I told you about that I created, I was so excited to create that coaching program. I was like, this is it. I can't wait to teach this. This is so good. I literally sat down for months. I think it took me 2 months. I made every module, I recorded every video, the landing page, the sales page, I set a price. But what did I miss? This. I did not make sure that other people were actually looking for what I put together. What a waste of freaking time. Cancel, cancel. I did learn something. I did learn something by doing that, but it did feel like I wasted a lot of time, right? So that was a very expensive $10,000 lesson that I learned, and a website that no one ever visited. But before I tell you how to validate it, I want to tell you something that's going to kind of change the way that you look at your competition. Okay. So if someone else is already talking about your topic, it is not a red flag. That's actually a green flag. And if you've been with me long enough, you know that I talk about the hot dog stand theory, right? So I want you to imagine, for my newbies who haven't experienced this, two hot dog stands, identical in every way. Same hot dog, same price, same friendly person behind the counter, like everything is the same. One is in the middle of an empty parking lot at 10 p.m. The other is on the corner of a college campus at 2 in the morning when the bars let out. Same hot dogs, same price, completely different result because you will have a line of people and most likely sell out the hot dog stand near the college campus, and you will have nobody at 10 p.m. in an empty parking lot, even though they're selling the same product. Why? Why? Who knows? Yeah, demand. The answer is demand. Hungry audience, quite literally. In the hot dog theory, right? It is a hungry audience. They're starving. They've been drinking all night. They need food in their belly, right? Literally traffic, hungry audience. So when you go to Google and you type in your topic and you find 100 YouTube videos or a dozen courses or 45 Reddit threads that people have questions in, I don't want you to back away. I actually want you to lean in. That's a hungry audience. That's how you know there's demand for what you are talking about. And the reason that you are different than every single person already talking about that topic, what is it? Why are you different? Why is someone going to buy your hot dog versus someone else's hot dog? Your story. Yeah, your lived experience, your little fanny pack of golden wisdom nuggets, your lessons. The way that you found yourself through that process is different than everybody else's. Your version of the messy middle is what differentiates you, not your topic. So, great news, we don't have to invent something that has never existed before. We don't have to come up with this topic that's like no one's ever done. Great, because that's pretty hard to do in this day and age with the digital world we live in, right? So, when you're doing your research, and yes, we do real research inside of the Fanny Pack Framework, you're not looking for a topic that nobody has touched or nobody is talking about. You're actually looking for proof that people are already asking questions that you know how to answer. Does that make sense? Yeah, because you've lived it. Exactly. Okay. Reddit threads full of people venting about the exact problem that you've solved. Green flag. Reddit threads are gold for research, by the way. Gold. Because people are not afraid to tell you their opinion. The Threads app, the one that's part of Instagram, also gold. Book reviews, gold. YouTube videos, gold. Why? Because people watch YouTube videos and they ask questions in the comments. So you're going to go right to the comments and be like, huh, what are people's questions? Oh, I can answer that. Could I teach on that? Could I create a product around that? Right? Green flag, green flag, green flag. We love that. The market is literally telling you what it wants. And your job is just to listen and then show up as you. Perfect. We can all do that, right? I have confidence that every single person can do that. So that's the vehicle. That's literally the Fanny Pack Framework. Your story, your person, and validated demand in that order. Okay. Here's what I would like for you to understand before we go any further. You already have step one. You already have your story. You've been living with it. You've brought it with you today. You have your fanny pack, right? My question for you is, are you ready to stop hiding it and start building with it? Stop hiding it, start building with it, because secret number two is going to show you exactly what's been stopping you from doing that. And again, it's not what you think. So let's dive into that. Secret number two, the one that kept me stuck for 7 years, the false belief that I wanted to bust wide open right now, is this one. Oh, but Gwen, no one's going to care about my story. My story isn't enough. I haven't achieved something big enough. Who's going to pay me? I literally got an email today that was like, I just don't understand why someone would ever pay me for this knowledge. And I was like, if I could shake you through this email service provider, I would. Right? Can I get a yes in the chat if you've ever thought that? And it's okay. Nancy says that's me. Bye, Leanne. We'll see you later. Yeah, Christina says all the time. Yeah, me too. Right? If you've ever looked at what you've been through and been like, who's going to care? Right? That's what that voice sounded like for me. Now, I watched is probably not the right word, maybe stalked. In the best of ways, I stalked coaches online. And I tried to sound like them because I thought, I need to be like this person in order to have success. I need to be polished and preachy and put together and know all the answers. And I would watch what the successful people were doing, and I would basically copy it. Same tone, same format, same energy. Guess what? It didn't work because it wasn't me. Now, to put this into perspective for you, do you guys know who this is? This is my girl, Gwen Stefani. I loved her when I was like 12, 13, right? From No Doubt. I idolized her because she was like different from everybody else. She wore the cool pants and the chain wallet and the crop top. Like she was just fun. I loved her vibe. I got invited to a bar mitzvah. I'm not Jewish. I didn't know anything about bar mitzvahs. I was 13 at the time. And my parents didn't fill me in. So my parents bring me and my sister, and I showed up to this event, and I showed up in my Jinko jeans, big, black, baggy Jinko jeans, chain wallet, Van shoes, and like a graphic t-shirt that was way too big for me. And guess what every other girl was wearing inside of that place? It wasn't Jinko jeans. They were wearing big floofy dresses and like these tippy tappy shoes. And I stood out like a sore thumb. Yeah, they were wearing dresses. And boy, did they make me feel very silly for that. So they were all shopping at like Delia's, if you guys remember that store. And so guess what I started to do after that event? I started to shop at Delia's because that's what everyone else was doing. And I didn't want to feel like an outsider. I wanted to feel like I belonged somewhere. And that is exactly what I was doing online for 7 years as well. Right? I was trying to squeeze myself into the floofy dress, trying to sound like someone that I wasn't, trying to perform a version of success that I hadn't achieved yet. And people could feel that. No wonder why I didn't go anywhere. Because here's the thing about authenticity. The absence of it is actually just as loud as the presence of it. Wouldn't you agree? Like maybe even louder. When you're real, people stop. They comment, they share, they slide into your DMs, right? And they start conversations. And what do I always say? Conversations equal conversions. And that, did you just read my journal comment moment is where your business actually starts. Okay. That's what your story does for people. Now I'm like, I can be Gwen Stefani. I can stand out. It doesn't matter. This is my vibe. Right. So I want you to know your story. Here's where most people get it wrong. And obviously, this is where I got it wrong for 7 years too. But they think that telling their story means just like dumping their entire life history on the internet and hoping that somebody cares. We don't care like that. Again, we like movies because of the way that they're presented, right? There's a story arc in that. We're not just going to dump our entire life's problems on everyone else. It's not how it works. But the cool thing is, there's actually, Andrew says, thank God. Like, please, we don't need to do that, okay? We'll be here for years and no one will watch and it will be horrible. But there's actually a framework and there's a way to structure your story so that it does three very specific jobs at once. And I call them, this is so simple, the 3 layers of story. And this is the foundation of the entire Fanny Pack framework. Would it be helpful for you if I walked you through that story arc so you can understand that process? Yeah? Okay. It's really not that hard. Like everything that we talk about here is not, I'm not a neurosurgeon. It's not, I always call it like, whenever I don't understand something, my answer is always like engineering. Because like that feels so very far away and like engineers feel very smart to me. How does the computer run? I don't know. Engineering. I don't know. I just use it, right? Okay, layer one. This is where you were and what you didn't like about it. Where you were, what you didn't like about it. I was deep in debt, had just pulled my girls out of gymnastics, and I didn't like feeling like a failure. That's it. Okay, this is your starting point. The before, the knee deep in the thing that you needed to get out of, right? Um, that's layer one. It's honest, it's unfiltered. This is where I was moment. And the reason why this layer matters the most is because your person that you've identified is living this version right now. They're living in layer one. Okay. So for me, it's like I know my person's at her laptop with 17 browser tabs open at 9 p.m. and wondering if she just picked the wrong strategy again. Right. She's laying in bed making mental lists of everything that she should be doing differently. Oh, my content sucks. I need my content to look like this person. Right. She's watching someone else celebrate like a 10K month and then feeling like, okay, well, if they could do it, I can do it, but also like maybe I can't. Right? That's your layer one. Does that make sense? Where you were, what you didn't like about it. That's it. Okay? Layer two. This is what you decided to do about it. Not what happened to you, not your breakthrough moment, not the result, the decision. So I didn't like where I was, sitting in my bed, crying, feeling like I had failed my kids, taking them out of gymnastics, being in debt. So what I did was I invested in some education to learn some skills to get me out of that position. That was the decision. Or I could say the decision was I took steps to get myself out of that situation. I decided that I needed to make a change. Does that make sense? So this is kind of like the moment that you looked and you said, okay, not anymore. Nope. I'm going in this direction instead. Right? For me, it was deciding that my story was the product, that I didn't need to wait until I had achieved something to start sharing, that I was going to take people on the journey with me, right? That I wanted to find myself again and have more fun. I think if you can connect here to the real why behind it, like not just, oh, I decided I didn't want to be in debt anymore. I mean, yeah, that's everybody, right? But it's like, why didn't you want to be in debt anymore? Well, because I wanted to be able to say yes to going on vacation with my family if we could. I wanted to be able to homeschool my kids. I wanted to put my girls back in gymnastics. Like, what is the thing behind the decision? Right? It's got to be fueled by that. Thank you, Andrew. I'm so glad. Thank you for saying that. Raw, unpolished. That decision is layer two. Okay, so that's layer two. Layer three, the last one. This is the vision. Where are you going? What does life look like on the other side? And it's not just the money, it's not just the followers, it's the feeling, right? Because people relate to the feeling. That's how we kind of like lead our lives. We have emotions, hopefully, right? We're not robots. Doo, doo, doo. Like we all have feelings. For me, it was like, I just want to feel the freedom of choice, the freedom to be myself, the freedom. What does it feel like for me to wake up to sales without having to try so hard? What does it feel like for me to have to open up my social media and have DMs from people being like, how can you help me? Right? What does it feel like for me to put my girls back in gymnastics? I think you get what I'm saying. That's layer three. And again, none of these things are hard. You don't even have to go do any research for these things. You already have them. You just need to identify them and write them down. And you might be like, Gwen, I have a lot of stories. Yeah, we all do, right? We all do. I mean, you could go back 20 years and have a story. But what's important here is like we're identifying the problem that you have recently walked through. So I would say keep yourself within 3 years' time. If it's something that's further back than that, I mean, you could use that. You could still teach that topic, right? But it'll be harder for you to identify with the person that you were if it was like 20 years ago. Because I can't even remember what it was like 20 years ago. Like what was I doing 20 years ago? I don't know. Right? So the closer to the timeline that it is, it's a little bit easier for you to recall. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So here's the magic of those three layers working together. Layer one makes them feel seen. Layer two gives them hope. And layer three makes it feel possible. Okay. Seen, hope, possible. Because when someone feels seen, hopeful, and like something is possible for them, what do they do? What do they do? They trust you, right? They trust you, and people buy from people that they trust. Yeah, Karen. Exactly. Okay. So can I get a yes in the chat? If you can already see your three layers starting to take shape here, even if it's just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just an idea of it. Yeah? Awesome. Yay. Okay, okay, okay. I know I'm talking a lot. I try to condense myself sometimes. Laura says yes, and it's exciting. Yay! Okay, this is my whole point of doing this. I'm so glad. So this is your story, right? Already inside of you. We don't have to go anywhere. We don't have to learn anything. It's already here. You don't need to have it all figured out. You're not the guru. We don't want you to be. You're just one layer or one step ahead of the person that you're here to help. And I want to say one more thing before we move on to secret number three. The reason that you've been trying to copy the coaches that you admire, maybe, the reason that you've been performing instead of just being is not because you are weak and it's not because you're unoriginal. I need you to hear that. Okay? It's just because nobody ever told you that you were enough as you are. You are enough as you are. No one ever pointed at your life, like your actual messy, beautiful, in progress life, and said that. I wish someone told the Jinko jeans version of Gwen. And you know what? Like, why don't I have any pictures of that time in my life? Why didn't my parents take any pictures? Where are those photos, Mom? No one told me that I was okay to be that person, right? But you are. So I'm telling you now, hopefully if you take anything home, I hope that you take that home. Okay? This is your business. Yes, you are enough. I know we hear that so much, but I need you to hear that, right? Okay, so in secret three, this is the last secret. We're going to talk about the last thing that's standing between you and actually building it. This is the external stuff. This is like, the tech. the platforms, but I don't know how to do any of this piece. But I promise you, it is so much simpler than you have been sold. Okay. Did anybody watch Schitt's Creek? So funny. Like one of my favorite. I would go back and watch that a second time. Secret number three. Time and money are not real reasons why you can't. Ugh. We will not tolerate that language, folks. Okay. Time and money are not real reasons why you can't. And I'm sorry. Not sorry. We've talked about the vehicle. We've talked about your story being enough. And I know what's happening in your brain right now. And I only know this because I've been there, right? You're nodding along and you're like, yeah, okay, I get it. My story matters. I'm in the messy middle. That's actually kind of exciting. And then this little voice pops up in the back of your head and it goes, Gwen, I just don't have time. I'm busy. I'm a busy mom. Who's busy? Who's busy? Who's not busy? You know what I mean? Like, who's not busy? Right? Oh, but Gwen, I don't even have enough money to go get my hair done. I don't have money for this. I get it. Trust me, I get it. Remember, sitting here on my bed, deep in debt, pulled my girls out of gymnastics. I get it. I've heard it. I've said it. And for years, those were my two reasons. Especially because if I go back to the first coach that I ever hired and I spent $10,000 and then I built the website and I launched the course and I did everything she told me to do and then I got nothing, like I could have stopped then and been like, well, there's my proof. Spent the money, did the thing, no results. I guess I'm not cut out for this, right? I could have stopped there. Thank goodness I didn't. Those were my very good, very logical, very reasonable reasons why this wasn't going to work for me now. And I want to talk about them both today because I want to like see you through this screen. It is very easy to use these money and time as the reason why we can't. But let's start with time, okay? So if you're a parent, I know what your day looks like because I've lived it, right? At the time, I had a full-time job. I was nursing a newborn. My husband was a firefighter, or he was training to become a firefighter, so he was never home. He was also working another job. So I did daycare drop off, daycare pickup, made dinner, did bath time, packed lunches for the next day, did bedtime, and then after all that, I would walk into my little tiny office and I would work on my business. Was I tired? Mm-hmm. Was it sustainable forever? Nope. But here's what I knew that kept me going in that moment is that I wasn't building something for tomorrow. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I have to have a result tomorrow, right? I just knew that the way that my life was going, I didn't like. And so in order for that to change, I had to do something different. And I knew I was building something for the next 3 years. And it actually did take me 3 years, the first time I ever built something in the margins of my life, that I actually made enough to quit my job at that time. And I want you to hear that 3 years not as discouragement, because I don't want you to sit there and go, great, it's going to take me 3 years. Here's the great thing about this. It took me 3 years that first time so that I could give you the shortcut so it doesn't take you 3 years. It took me 7 years of failing in my past 10 tries so I could condense that and give you the shortcuts like the Waze app, right? But the thing that everyone thinks is like, I have to have this figured out by next Tuesday. Oh my gosh, I haven't made any progress. No, you just have to start. Because, and so many of you said this already, so I'm just kind of reiterating it back to you. But if your dream is big enough, and many of you said, I'm not giving up on my dream. If your dream is big enough, if your desire is big enough, then you'll just go until it works. And it might not look like what you thought it was going to look like. So we have to kind of give that to the universe and be like, I'm going to create this dream life. It might not, I don't really have any expectations for exactly how I'm going to get there, but I'm going to run with working towards that goal, right? And it can change. Living proof. I tried so many different things. I've had people come into my programs and turn around in less than 30 days and make their first sale. Some of them are on this call. And here's what I want to say to every single mom who tells me she doesn't have time, because trust me, I know. You have 15 minutes in the pickup line, yes? You have some sort of car ride that you have to take. Sitting in line, phone in hand, I don't know, on the way to the grocery store, right? You have 15 minutes when you're making lunches in the morning. Could you listen to a training? Yes, you could, right? You have 15 minutes on the toilet, no? If you're a man, you've got like 60, right? Don't look at me like that. Don't you dare. I'm like, what the hell are you doing in there? I've like had breakfast, cleaned up from breakfast. What are you doing? You better be making magic happen in there. Anyway, 15 minutes in bed before you fall asleep, right? So if you have four 15-minute blocks in your day, that's an hour every single day. And I get it. It's going to be quote unquote hard, right? Because you won't get in bed and watch your Netflix series. You won't, but that's okay because that will be there for you forever. You won't get to listen to your true crime podcasts on the way home from work. And I love a good true crime podcast. But if it's not building your future and you want to build your future, well, then we have to remove the things that are getting in our way, right? And I say this with so much love only because I've been there. And I know how good it feels, especially as a mom, to like get in bed and be like, nobody's bothering me. It's quiet. I'm going to sit down and watch like just one episode. And then it's 5 episodes later and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. But it's me time, right? Karina says they're watching the funny YouTube videos that I sent them. Might be true, Karina. Might be true. The TV series will always be there. Yes, your dream has an expiration date because tomorrow is not a guarantee. That's just it, right? That's just it. Okay. Can I get a yes in the chat if you've ever said I don't have time? And it's we listen and we don't judge. Remember? We listen and we don't judge. Lori says yes. Holly says yes. Yeah, I say yes too. Okay. I did it for years. So that's time. Now, let's talk about money. This one's everyone's like, oh, I used to believe that it was cringe to talk about money, but only because my parents never talked about money. And it was like gauche, right? But what I believe now is that, like, why can't we be more transparent about money? Why can't we talk about that? Right? And again, my mind goes straight to Snoop Dogg, right? Got my mind on my money and my money on my mind. He's not wrong. He's laid back, right? Let me ask you a question. Have you ever bought a car at a dealership before? Yeah? Did you love the process? Did you walk into that dealership with $40,000 in your pocket, cash? Maybe, probably not. Most of us don't, right? We just walk into the dealership. We know we need a car. We know we don't have all the money in our pocket, in our fanny pack. And we also know that the dealer is going to offer us financing. And do you know what? Nobody feels bad about that. The dealer doesn't feel bad. You don't feel bad. You want the car, you need the car, you finance the car, you get the car, and you make it happen. Now, do we like that? Of course not. But we want the thing, so we make it happen. Yeah? Now, here's what gets me. That car, the second you drive it off the lot, starts losing value. The second that you drive it off the lot. Every single day, it literally depreciates right in front of your eyes. So you're financing something that's worth less tomorrow than it is today, and somehow the whole world is totally fine with doing that. Right? But the second, and trust me, this conversation is not going where you think it's going. Hear me out. The second that someone suggests investing in a business or in something that could make you more money than you've ever dreamed of, something that appreciates as you build it, suddenly we're like, no, I can't. I can't make an investment. Like I'm barely getting by. No. Right? Do you see how it's a double standard? Now, I want to tell you something. In 2023, when I started this business, I already told you I was deep in the hole, like robbing Peter to pay Paul. Okay. Like going to the grocery store and being like, I don't know which credit card's gonna work. And if this one doesn't work, hopefully this one does. Like, horrible. I was not starting from a place of financial abundance, let's just say that, right? But I was starting from a place of I have to make this work because I'm out of options. I'm out of options. And I found a way because I knew that the only way, well, I knew that the alternative was staying exactly where I was. And for me, that was no longer acceptable, right? For me, that was no longer acceptable. Now, I am not standing here telling you that money is no object. Obviously, it is. And it's real. And the bills are real. And the mortgage is real. And the broken dishwasher is real, right? I lived all of that. And honestly, if someone comes to me and they're like, Gwen, I would not be able to feed my children if I invested in my business, then I would say, well, obviously, like, I want you to feed your children, right? That trumps everything. But what I know to be true is that successful people are resourceful. So in 2023, that education that I invested in was $2,500. And my husband and I had had a conversation that year, New Year's, and he was like, let's not invest in any more education or courses or programs. Let's make a deal. And I said, okay, I get it. I've spent the last 7 years doing that. Like I've spent a lot of our money, no more investing. But then this course came up and I was like, oh my God, I think this is it. Like, I think this is the education that I need. Long story short, I sat down with my husband and I said, I don't know how I know this, but I know that this is what's going to get us out. And luckily, thankfully, I have a spouse who is very supportive and he said, I trust you. And we moved some things around and some investments and some tax money and we made it happen. Okay. But I always say, like, what is it costing you to stay where you are? Right. And it's not just dollars, it's not just money, it's time, it's joy, it's the version of yourself that you're not becoming. It's the gymnastics classes that your kids can't take. It's the second job that your husband slaves and never gets any sleep and, all the things, right? Because that's a cost too. And that's real too, but nobody really talks about that. The car dealer doesn't feel bad about financing your dream of a car, and they're charging you like 10, 20% interest, whatever it is. The credit cards don't feel bad, right? But I will never tell someone, like, in order to do this, you need to finance it. What you do is your choice. I'm just turning the perspective on it. Most people who want to make money do not come into this because they are overabundant in money. We come into this because we're like, oh shit, I need to do something. I need to make some extra cash or I need to figure this out, right? Yeah, Andrew says it's costing my life, sort of. Yeah, because it's like, I feel like shit every day when I wake up. I don't want to feel like shit every day when I wake up. I want to feel like amazing Gwen, Jinko jeans, rocking her chain wallet kind of vibe. I don't even know if they make those jeans anymore. I might rock them. I don't know. Scale of 1 to 10. How much has I don't have the money held you back from taking the next step? Just be honest with yourself right now. Not for me, but for you. 1 to 10. 1 like not at all. 10 like, oh yeah, every single time. Nancy says I worked at a car dealership, so I know how to streamline it a little more now. Well, guess what, Nancy? Hey, there's a product for you. If you create a product on how to streamline buying a car, I would buy it. Just so you know. You have knowledge that other people want. Delilah says went for an oil change, left with a new car. Delilah. I love that. Yeah. Laura says 10. Sometimes a 6. Yeah. 10, 7, 6, 8. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was a 10, right? Time and money are real. They are real. And I'm not going to stand here and pretend like they're not, but they're never the real reason. Okay. The real reason is just the story that you've been telling yourself about time and money. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's true. Okay. So we've covered all 3 secrets. You know the vehicle, you know your stories enough, and you know that time and money are not your real villains. Yay! Now I want to talk about what happens when you actually put all of this together. Are you still with me? Are we still feeling good? Because I know we've been talking for a while. Yeah. Okay. What does it look like when the Fanny Pack framework is fully unzipped and working for you? What does it look like? So we've been here together for a while now. And I want to take a second before I go any further. And I want you to think about where you were when you logged on today, right? Maybe you were at the kitchen table with a glass of wine. Maybe you, I don't know, maybe you snuck away in your car. Maybe the kids are finally asleep and this is the first quiet moment that you've had all day. And Delilah says she is no longer allowed to take the car in for service. Agreed. Too easily influenced, Delilah. But hey, are you happy driving that car? You know what I mean? Okay. I want you to know something before I show you what's next because everything that I'm about to share with you, I built it for the version of me that was sitting on that bed crying in 2023. The version of me that had tried everything, hired everything, bought all the courses, and still felt like I was the problem. Okay, I just didn't have the right framework. So here's what we're going to do right now. I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like to have everything that you need, the framework, the coaching, the community, the tools, all in one place. This is my ask of you that it's okay for me to share this with you. Would it be okay if I shared this with you? Okay, what this looks like. I see a thumbs up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. And hear me say this. I never want to sell someone something. Like I want someone to be so intrigued by their own capability to create success that they like just get me in there, right? But I believe genuinely that the person who came into this webinar today is different than the person who's going to leave it. Wouldn't you all agree? Like, don't you already feel like you've up-leveled your life just a little bit? Yeah. And what I want to make sure of is I want to make sure that everyone has everything they need to actually do something with that difference. Because you can't manufacture that feeling when you leave this webinar. You can't make it up. Okay, so why do I share this picture? This is Russell Brunson. Okay, and I didn't know who he was until I entered entrepreneurship. Even in 2015, when I entered entrepreneurship, I really didn't know who he was. It took me until like 2022, maybe before I knew who Russell Brunson was. But anyway, he created ClickFunnels, basically funnels. If you use a funnel, Russell Brunson probably created it. Okay. It's $1 billion business, a funnel building tool that literally hundreds of thousands of people use in their businesses to this day. And it's what made him his $1 billion business. Now, in 2023, I had written down a goal that I wanted to get paid to speak on stages. And then last year, got invited to speak on Russell's stage at ClickFunnels headquarters. The speaking part, so cool. Nerve-wracking? Yes. But cool overrides, right? But the best part about that event was the connections that I made with million and billion-dollar business owners inside that room. Like, it's not something I could have gotten anywhere else. I was scared out of my pants to talk on stage. But my point is that we get to set goals, but we don't need to know how they're going to happen. I didn't say, hey, I want to get on stage with Russell Brunson in 2020. What year was last year? 2025. I didn't put that goal down. It was just like, I want to get paid to speak at events. And then here we are, right? But if I had, what I'm trying to say to you is like, if I had tried to manufacture every single step and what that would look like, you'd probably be disappointed because it wouldn't go the way that you expected things to go. So we have to kind of release expectations and just set the goal and know we're going to get there. And we work towards doing it no matter what. Even when it looks like this, and even when it looks like this, and then when it looks like this again, we keep going because that dream is what drives us, right? So when I told you in the beginning that you have to have a desire, that's what's going to drive you. Okay, but I want you to stop stopping yourself just because you quote unquote don't know how. Okay? If you move, if you take action, success. Yay? Okay. Living proof. So what I'm about to show you is called Pop Lock and Profit. Some of you that are on this call are in there, and so you know what it is. But what this is in one sentence is it the complete system for taking your lived experience into cash flow with me beside you every single step of the way. Okay. What it's not. It is not just a course that you buy and you never open. Please, please. It is not just a community where you like lurk around and you feel guilty for never doing the work. Okay. It's a whole ecosystem. I call it a done with you program. Okay. So you have course plus coaching plus community plus tools, all of it working together so none of it falls through the cracks. Thank you. I've taken so many courses and coaches and programs and things that, yeah, we don't even need to go there. Okay. So, what does it look like inside the course? So, there's actually like a course inside the program. You walk through it. Okay. When I built this, I didn't build it from theory. I actually built it from what I had thought, not what I had thought, what I had walked through myself. I actually sent out a survey, 250 people responded who told me what was missing from every other course they'd taken. They said, I don't like modules that are too long, so I made my module short, 20 minutes or less. They said nobody taught them how to validate things before they built it, so I taught a whole market research section. They said they felt confused, alone after they bought, so I made sure my coaching was inside this program. Okay. So, in a nutshell, the course section helps you rewire your brain first because you can have the best strategy in the world. But if the person using it doesn't believe that they deserve the results, then the strategy doesn't stand a chance, right? So we fix that first. Then we find your story, your messy middle. Hey, you already know that because you've been here. The thing you've lived through that someone else is desperately searching for. Okay. Then we validate it. Remember, that's that market research hot dog stand. We make sure there's hungry people at 2 a.m. before you even think about making the hot dogs, right? Then we build the product, or we find the affiliate product that works for you. Either way, you have something to sell. Then we market it. Content, messaging, social media, all of it, emails, all in your voice. Then we build and scale. Okay, build it once, sell it on repeat. That is the beauty of the digital space. That is the dream, right? You don't want to have to show up, get up, go to work, trade your time for money all day long. So I'm living proof that this system works, but I'm not the only one. And there will be people who I'll show you their testimonials, right? This is the complete roadmap, start to finish, nothing missing. And I spent 7 years piecing this together, right? And so now you get a shortcut in one place. That's amazing. This cost me over 6 figures to figure out. Woo, that's a tough one. Blessing. It's a blessing, right? But this is the actual shortcut, okay? Here's the value of this course alone, $3,000. 6 months access to Pop, Lock, and Profit. That's what the course is called. And again, hey, remember, I love songs. This is kind of modeled after the Pop, Lock, and Drop It. It's a horrible rap song, but for some reason, Pop, Lock, and Profit just stuck in it, whatever. Anyway, that's kind of like what I sing every time I say it, Pop, Lock, and Profit, and everything that you need to implement in this blueprint. So that's the course itself, okay? What else is in there? Coaching. So we have weekly coaching calls. Here's the thing about courses. You can watch every single module, you can take every single note, and you can still get stuck on something that takes you out completely and has you shut down the course and like never open it again. How do I know? Because I've been there. A tech thing, a messaging thing, does this even make sense thing, right? If you don't have a place to ask questions, this is where most people get stuck. So I show up live with my community every week. I put my eyeballs on your business. You bring questions, you bring content, you bring your offer, and we look at it together. No more spinning in circles. What's that worth? 1,500 bucks, right? My eyes on your work every single week for 6 months. Third part, the community. Some of them are in here. I love my PLPers. Can I tell you something that nobody talks about enough? Loneliness will kill your business before anything else will, right? Because Your sister or your brother or your mother or someone in your family will think you must be having a midlife crazy. You must be having a midlife crisis. You're crazy, right? When you try to talk to your husband or your wife and their eyes glaze over when you try to explain your vision, when you feel like a fraud because no one understands, no one close to you understands, right? Like we need people to connect with. It's actually dangerous, that feeling, because it makes you quit. So I was like, if I'm going to create something, I'm going to make sure that there's community a part of this because you are not the weird one. You are not the black sheep. You belong here, right? So we're building alongside each other. Yeah, Holly says truth. We're cheering for your $2.80 commission like it's $1 million because it is, right? Because they know that that's what $2.80 in commissions means, right? So community is the third part. What's that worth? $500. The belonging and the key to never giving up. So if you had just these three things, right? If you had the course, the coach, and the community, would that change things for you? Would that change things for you? Mm-hmm. And I've watched it. I've watched it happen. Okay. Tools, community support, says Nancy. So if we stopped right here, that's $5,000 of value. And honestly, that alone would probably be worth it. But I don't I don't stop there. I don't stop there because here's the thing about the Fanny Pack framework. The Fanny Pack doesn't have just one pocket. What? The Fanny Pack has multiple layers and multiple pockets. So let me show you what else is in there. We can hold a lot in the Fanny Pack. Okay. I created something called the Custom Pop Lock and Profit GPT. I know the name phenomenal. But this is literally every coaching call I've ever done, every framework that's been built, every standard operating procedure of my business is inside this GPT. So if we're on different time zones, let's say you're Pacific and I'm Eastern, and you're up at 10 o'clock at night and I'm in bed sleeping at that point, but you have a question, comes right here. Okay. It's Gwen here inside this GPT. Okay. So it's trained on all of Pop Lock and Profit, my one-to-one coaching, and then it takes your voice and your offer and your messaging and combines it with that knowledge. So if you need to create a freebie, a digital product, a webinar, write an email, create a caption, map out a launch, you don't have to start from scratch with like regular chat GPT, right? You get to have this at your fingertips. So you get a Gwen in your back pocket or in your fanny pack, wherever you want to put me. I don't care. And I wish someone had handed me this when I started because it would have saved me so many years. So many years. Okay. What's that worth? $500. Actually, probably worth more. But this will save you not only time, but also money. Okay. So that's your custom GPT. Then I went ahead and I added in something called your reinvention identity audios because everyone knows the voice that goes, "What are you thinking, Andrew? You can't do this." Right? The little tiny one that comes up. Is it the left shoulder? The devil? I don't know. Whoever it is, the voice is in there. So these audios are short. There's 5 of them. They are meant for you to listen whenever. But what they are specifically designed to do is to shut that voice down. Okay. So they're just guided audio sessions that help you rewire your beliefs, to help you rebuild your confidence, and help you step into the identity of the person who already has what they want. Okay. And again, this is not just like, everybody be positive. I don't do that. Okay. But this is the same work. I would not be here without this work. Okay. This is the same work that took me from borrowing Peter to pay Paul to building a multiple 6-figure business. Yeah. If someone asked me, Gwen, if you could recommend one thing for me to do in my business, I would tell them to do this work. Rewire your mind and you'll be successful. Okay. Value $300. So now we're stacking it. We're stacking it up. I also put in some email templates because I know what it's like to be like, okay, yeah, I have a story. I can show up online. I can talk about my things. But then you get bogged down with all the details. Like what do I say in an email? Right? So I just made it super simple. I'm like, here's what you say. Here, just plug in your information. Here's what you say. So these are email frameworks. I know you're not well, maybe you are a copywriter. Most people aren't. Okay, copywriting is actually a skill that we have to learn. So while you're learning how to communicate, these templates are plug and play. So you just fill in your story or offer your voice, and you have emails that convert. Ta-da! $200 value. Amazing. So they give you exactly what to say and how to make sales. They are proven templates that work time and time and time again. Yay! Bonus number 4. I actually just added this one recently. This is a carousel training. Has anyone created carousels on social media? Mostly Instagram, probably. No? A little bit? Yeah. Carousels are outperforming reels right now. And especially when it comes to making sales, carousels really bring it home. Carousel is just a bunch of pictures that you basically swipe through. And I say pictures, but there's usually text on the screen. Okay, so I created a bingeable how to create a carousel. Like from I've never created a carousel before to holy crap, my carousel just made me sales. Okay? It is simple, it's easy to follow, it is not hard. Even if you've never done anything, Lori says, yes, they are amazing. Okay? So this kind of training is like what other communities will pay me to come into their groups and teach. And I give it to you in Pop Lock and Profit because why wouldn't I? Right? $200. Now I can't fit everything on screen. I had to make it super small. But you can see we're just stacking and we're up to like 6,200 in value, right? I ran out of room. Are you starting to see how this all fits together? Right? What to sell? We rewire your mind. What to say and how to say it. Ask questions. Coaching step by step, right? Let me show you what that all really adds up to. Because I want to be really real with you right now. When I was sitting in my bed right over here in 2023, broke, borrowing Peter to pay Paul, pulling my girls out. If someone had said, "Here, Gwen, here's the structure. It's $6,400." I would have been like, "Cool. See you later. Have a great day." Not gonna happen, right? That's like 4 mortgage payments. Can't do it. So here's what I did. I made it a no-brainer. And my people who are in Pop Lock and Profit, I know some of you are here, they will probably tell you that yes, this is a no-brainer. Okay. Everything I just walked you through, normally $5,000, but because you show up for yourself here on this workshop, willing to learn with your desires ready to go, you can get access for $19.97. That is 60% off. Or if you want to keep it even smaller, right? We have breakout payments, 3 payments of $797 or 6 payments of $397. Okay. That is less than $15 a day. Cool. Who's in there? Where are my Pop Lock and Profiters? Is it worth this much? Not to put you on the spot, but Nancy says it's great. Heck yes. Okay. Heck yes in capital letters, says Lori. I didn't pay them to be here. I didn't. But I am glad that they're here, right? The coolest thing, Holly says worth it. The coolest thing about my community and really what I wanted to be able to do for people, thank you, Karina, is like I pull back the curtain. So when I'm doing a workshop, I invite my Pop Lock and Profit people to come in. I'm like, hey, come in, watch how I teach this workshop so that you can learn and you can go teach a workshop, right? Debbie says, oh, PLP is an incredible course. Gwen rocks it and teaches us how to rock it. I try to do that. I've bought all the courses. Okay, what I really wanted you guys to have is what you've wanted, what 250 people asked me for in the survey. And so far it's working. Okay. So if you are like, yes, I know I'm a heck yes, I'm ready to go, you can get started here today and we will onboard you and it will be amazing. If you came here as a referral from somebody else, like someone said, hey, my mentor is teaching tonight, you should come, they have a special link that you can use to join. I reward my people who talk highly of my program. I reward my people who bring people in because word of mouth is the best advertisement ever. So if someone feels good enough to be able to do that, I am happy to reward that. Okay. But before I do just want to tell you about these couple of people. Okay. Before you go, I promise 10 more minutes. My goal for you, because I know it's possible, is that you create an offer to sell. And again, create it once, sell it on repeat. You know exactly what to say to make connections and sales. You can invest in your business and increase your personal income. You have automations set up that are selling for you. And I'm not talking about an AI twin. I'm talking about like back end automations that do the selling for you. We get deep in it. People can join, you could be sleeping and people can join your offer, your program, your course, whatever it is. And that you get to focus on growing not only yourself, but your income and your customer results. That's my goal for you. Okay, but let me share what our members have been able to do. Now, you don't have to read all of these. I couldn't pick though. These are some of my favorites and I couldn't pick, so I gave them all to you and you can read what you want to read. One of these messages is brand new. You know who you are. And I had to include it here. And so I know there's a lot, but each of these testimonials hits on a different area. Okay. So we have a client who sold his first course for $297 in his school community. We have someone who has made more in a month than they made at their job. Okay. I like to include results that aren't just like, hey, I sold this or I made this, because sometimes this is all that people need. This feels like a breakthrough moment for me. Sometimes that's all that we need, right? First high ticket client. Okay. You guys probably know who this is. Last week I had 300 followers in Facebook. Now I have over 3,000. Last week, coolest thing ever to watch people succeed. Coolest thing ever. Okay. Can you feel like what it feels like for these people to be able to write this down? Can you imagine what it would be like for you to be able to type this in and be like, ah, this is what happened to me? Right? So cool. It is the coolest thing to be able to be a part of. Okay, these people get paid to show up as they are. That's it. The custom chat GPT success, the students making their first sales, the first high ticket sales, people making more in a month than they make at their job, right? Like, it's all possible for you. And this is my favorite part, and it is really only just for this webinar, for you guys being here. I took every single thing that I did when I started my content at 0 followers and grew it to now 260 something thousand followers. And I wrote down every step. Okay, so this is only for the people who join us in the next 48 hours. You're going to get my document called Girl Math for free. Okay. Girl Math is the exact marketing and messaging system. Debbie says, yeah, Girl Math. Yes, Andrew, I do have an affiliate program. Yep. So everyone who comes into Pop Lock and Profit Accelerator, and even those who aren't, are allowed to be affiliates for this program. Just send me a message and I can always get you a link. Okay. So Girl Math is every step. Okay. Every step that I took. And like I said before, if someone referred you to this Zoom call, make sure to go back to them and ask for their link. Okay. That's very important to me. Here's what I hear all the time, and the reason why I created Girl Math. This is almost a 200-page PDF. Don't let that overwhelm you. Okay. But what I hear all the time is like, Gwen, I don't have a brand. Girl, I got you. Girl Math teaches you how. Even if you're a guy, don't worry. Girl Math, still applicable. Okay. I'm looking at you, Andrew. Gwen, I don't know what to post. No problem. Girl Math teaches you what to post. Gwen, I don't know what a good hook is. Perfect. No problem. I got you. Girl Math tells you exactly how. I don't know how often should I show up? Don't worry. Girl Math got you, right? Literally what I did step by step. Okay. The content strategy, the messaging framework, the way I showed up on social media, the way I talked about my offer, like all of it. Because I want you to have that. So this is what you get when you join in the next 48 hours. Okay, this alone took me 7 years of posting online to figure it out, right? And you get the shortcut. I went through the weeds to bring it to you. You're welcome. Okay. So who came into this webinar today knowing something had to change? Who came in knowing? I see Christina. Knowing something had to change. Lori says she always refers back to Girl Math. Good. Thank you, Nancy. Nancy says Girl Math is so freaking good. Thank you. I love Girl Math. My whole heart went to that. Laura was raising her hand. Yeah. Knowing that something had to change. I get it. This is one of my favorite quotes. Also one of the most annoying quotes. If you want things to change, you have to change. If you want things to be better, you have to be better. It's so annoying, but it's like, okay, I get it. If we don't like the amount of money coming in, we got to change something. We got to change ourselves. We got to change our actions. If we don't like the amount of time we do or don't get to spend with our loved ones, then we have to change something, right? So ultimately, it comes down to us. I don't have the secret for you. You already have it. You already have it. So let me just show you everything one more time so you can see it all in one spot. And then we'll go to questions. And I know we've been going for a long time. You guys are absolute rock stars. Thank you for being here. Okay, so when you join Pop Lock and Profit Accelerator, you get all of these things. And I didn't mention this yet. So Pop Lock and Profit Accelerator is a 6-month program, but I'm actually throwing in 6 more months for free. So you get it for an entire year. That means course, community, coaching, anything I ever create and sell, you get access to in Pop Lock and Profit. So some of you are familiar with my course called Ditch the Niche, right? Everybody inside of Pop Lock and Profit gets access to everything that I create. So they have that. I want you to see what I'm creating so that you can be like, oh, okay, I didn't know that was possible. I can create something like that, right? And I also sometimes when you hear things in different ways, you pick up on things differently. So here's your total investment, 1997. Or 3 payments of 797 or 6 payments of 397, like whatever works for you, right? If you need my website, you can always put it in the comments. When we go to questions, I will do that for you. Okay. Before I let you go, just think, what's your goal? What's your number one goal? Right? I will give it to you real. I will be your friend, but also I don't know how to explain like how I always voice message people because I feel like I can never type my feelings. Thank you, Andrew, for being here. Send me a message. Thank you. We're all building a legacy, right? But everyone's legacy looks different. We all deserve to be here. We all deserve to be here. We all deserve to make it happen. Okay? Okay. What happens next? If you join us, you get your little welcome email, right? You bring your messy middle, you bring your story, you bring your 15 minutes in the pickup line, and we build the rest together. Together. Okay. This. I love my community. All of these people, every single one of them, a blessing. And I think you will too. Obviously, I had to find a great Schitt's Creek gif for the end, right? Let's do questions.